Welcome to our team training. So tonight we have a guest speaker jumping on. Those of you may have already guessed it because you've seen her on the screen. I wanted to keep it a surprise. I absolutely love this woman. She is a really, really good friend of mine, the beautiful Abbi. Yay! She's one of our NMD uplines. It's so interesting because Abbi and I have a completely different story, but we have a very similar, well, our hunger is the same, and I actually relate to so much of Abbi's journey in this business, even though, you know, mum of three, where she's come from is completely different to why I started this business and whatnot. So I love that in this business you can relate to so many different people for so many different things. So we've got half an hour. If you guys have any questions for Abbi, you're more than welcome to chuck them in the chat, especially along the way, if any of her story triggers any questions you have. But Abbi, I'm just going to pin you while I'm talking to you. But you have to unmute yourself. Just say hello and introduce yourself because you might be brand new to a lot of the faces on the screen. And can you just give us a 5-minute little intro about you and like just really quickly where you've come from and where you are now in the business?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Kimmy and Naomi, for allowing me to be on your call tonight. I'm super excited when you asked me, and I'm hopping on and I'm like, jeepers, there's 26 odd people, and I'm looking through the names going, holy shit, I don't know a lot of you guys, and you're part of my team, which is crazy. And I'll touch on that as I go, actually, because that's the craziness of this amazing, amazing business that we have. So it's so good to meet you guys on Zoom and see you. And okay, so I'll just share a little bit about, maybe I'll start with a little bit on my story. Is that what you want, Kimmy? Like kind of where it all began? Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll progress into whatever it needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
I had to, it's very much mum life in my house. So it's 6 o'clock right now and my husband's not home. So I literally had to tell my 9-year-old daughter she's got to serve up dinner. So if I get any screams downstairs, you'll know why. But, you know, I started this journey coming up to now 7 years. So July will be my 7-year anniversary, which is crazy how quickly that time has gone. I started this business as a stay-at-home mum, as Kim said. I actually only had 2 little ones when I first started. So I had a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. So life was pretty busy, you know, being that stay-at-home mum, trying to do all the juggle, the mummy juggle. And I actually wasn't really looking for anything. I was just in that mummy mode. But a girlfriend of mine actually reached out to me because she knew I was always interested in health. So I'd always kind of I've been in the chiropractic industry previously. So I've always been interested, but I always wasn't doing the right thing. So she kind of knew that I like to learn a lot about health and nutrition. And she invited me to to her house. And this is always the first lesson. I always find my journey, the first lesson is never cancel an event, because she invited me alongside 15 other people and only 3 of us turned up. Now, that night, everything was against that event because it was an event that Carla, my sponsor, was meant to run, and she actually double booked herself. So she, first of all, was going to cancel, but then reached up to her upline, Natalie Bordock, and said, you know what, I think Anika's got about quite a few people. Could you just maybe do this event for me? So Nat stepped into this event and said, okay, yep, I'll do it. But really, Anika was this close to cancelling because on the day, she literally had everyone but 3 people cancel. And Nat was a big believer. She said, no, I'm still coming. I'm still going to do it. It's a rainy night. And I said, look, I just need time out the house because I've got a 4-month-old and I need some time out. So that was my reasoning to go. And it was me and 2 other girls. So to me, it's never about quantity. It's all about quality. And that was where I needed to be that night. And that was a life-changing night for me. Not that I knew it was that night. That was, when I look at it, it was a defining moment. And it was really funny. So I went along, I listened to Nat speak, and she just had goosebumps like sitting there, but she didn't talk about it. So it was really an interesting event. She talked, the thing is what I loved about Nat, she was passionate, and she just shared how passionate she was about helping people in their health. And she just gave us some tips. and literally just shared about how, you know, we all need to go back to basics. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? It's not like I've never heard this information before, but it all just makes sense. Everything about what she said made sense. And she said it with such passion that I was engaged completely in what she was saying. So it was really funny because she never talked about Juice Plus. In actual fact, my husband texted me that night halfway through and said, the baby's crying, you need to come home, you need to breastfeed. So I was like, oh, damn it. So I remember walking out the door going, can you call me tomorrow? Because I want to know what that's all about, because I'm so interested in what you're talking about. So that's how my journey started. And literally Nat called me the next day. I didn't know what Juice Plus was. And she just had a conversation with me, and she just asked me some questions about my health. Was I eating enough fruit and veggies? All these type of things. And I loved that she made the time for me, and that she communicated with me so well and just connected with me. And we had a great conversation that day. And she basically said, look, I just said, look, I need this. I can understand that I am not looking after me and I really need this in my life. But when she told me the price, I actually said, no, I actually can't do it because I can't afford it. And you got to remember, at that point in time, second baby just happened, and we'd literally gone from 2 wages down to 1 wage. We were living that paycheck life, no money at the end of the month, and we were in a really difficult situation financially. So anything that I wanted to do for myself, I knew that was always going to have to come last, because we couldn't afford it. We'd actually been in a situation where we were racking up credit card bills. We'd gone from owning our home to renting, and we were not in a good place. And so when I said to Nat, I said, look, Nat, I'll call you back later and talk to my husband. And my husband was like, you know what, we can't do this. So when I spoke to her about it, she said to me, she asked me a few questions, and she just said, you know, if there was a way that we could actually pay for your product, would you want to know how you could do that? And I was open. I was like, well, I really want to be on the product, and if there's a way I could pay for it, that would be awesome. And she just really simplified it for me. She just said, well, how about you do an event at your house? You invite your mum, your sister, your friends, a few friends, and I will share what this is all about. And so that's what I did. I actually did that. I actually got 20 people in my house the following weekend, and I literally got to SDVF in like 2 weeks. And it was only because I really wanted that product for free. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do what it takes to get me to that point. And I did. And my husband, even though he was very skeptical at the time, he just said, well, why don't you give it a go? I think it was $135 back then when I started to give it a go. And he said, if only you get to pay for your product, it's worth it. And that's what I did. I never dreamed very big with this business. I literally started because I couldn't pay for my product. But what I came into in this business was a beautiful community. And I know a lot of you on this call, that's why a lot of you have said yes and are passionate about what you do, is because of the people around you and where we raise you up and believe in you first. And literally that's what started to happen. I had no confidence. I'd been in the mummy game. My brain was a bit scrambled, and I didn't know. I wasn't very clear on what I wanted. But Nat and Carlo, they really nurtured me in that. They just literally met me where I was at all the time. But I was able to hit every promotion quite quickly. So every promotion up to SSC, I fast-tracked in. But I did it because there were small goals. I actually never ever thought that I would ever reach an NMD. That was so far from what I started this with, and so far that no belief in myself that I could get there. But I just kept breaking it down to those smaller pieces. And when Nat said, go find 2 people, just go find 2 people, 2 of your mates, go find 2 people that you want to work with, go have fun with them. Don't even think about the business, just have fun. Now, you got to remember, back then there was no social media that we were utilizing. So I literally had to find friends or people that I was connecting with face to face. I mean, it's a different story now because we can connect with so many more people. But for me back then, I was literally having to do those one-on-one coffee catch-ups, those little events, in-home events that were all about building relationship. One of the biggest things I always remember, I never wanted to sell. So when I first started, I was like, you know what, I was always skeptical of the fact that I never wanted to sell anything, because I'm not a salesperson. And Nat always used to bring me back to the heart. And she always said, if you feel like you're selling, and you don't want to be in that. You don't want to do that. So when you share it as a gift. This is something that's going to change and impact someone's life. And you've got to get out of the way and stop pre-thinking things and just be the messenger. And I think for me, having that mindset shift of I'm not here to sell to someone. I need to not think like that. And I'm literally a messenger to help as many people as I can. And that's literally how it began. It was literally one foot in front of the other. But, right, it's never been easy. So right up into SSC, things flowed. It was starting to flow. I started to bring some people in, some really good people. But around that SSC to NMD journey, there was a journey. There was another, I always believe that every promotion grows you into that leader, that person you need to be. So when I hit SSC, I was on a roll. I'd actually just found out I was pregnant with number 3. And I remember it starting to get to the end of the year. And I know that at the end of the year, everyone had to re-sign into the business. And for those that know the figures, when you're an SSC, you've got to hit 9,000 volume in a month. And I hit that. And every month after that, there was a little decline. There was a little decline of volume. There was a little, not as many customers being put onto the team. And I just started to watch this kind of go down and down and down. And I never forget, there was a real turning point in my business. It got to December to January, and I started calling up my team, going, are you re-signing? We're starting fresh for the new year, blah, 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 and started all those team chats. And literally one by one, I kept getting people that were saying they weren't going to re-sign. And I was literally devastated. And what started to happen is my volume went from 9,000 a month to 4,000 volume in a month. And I never forget that stat, because it was a time in my business where I thought, I'm ready to give this up. If no one wants to actually re-sign with me, and, my volume's decreasing and all this kind of things that were going on in my head, I'm about to have a baby, how can I do this? There was all these excuses and distractions that were starting to build up in my head. And it was Nat actually that sat me down with my report. And I said, look, I'm ready to walk. I think I'm done. I think this is all I can do in this business. I'm an SSC. I don't know if I can reach that next promotion. And she sat me down, and I never forget, she went through my report, and we looked at the people, and we looked at the names of the customers on my genealogy report and my team members that were there. And she said, are you ready to walk away and not let any of these guys have their dreams fulfilled? Are you ready to make that decision? And she literally took that business away from me. And I remember sitting there going, oh my gosh, look what I've done. Look what we've achieved. This is amazing. Even though all these excuses were going on in my head, I realized at that point that I could never walk away from that. I could never let them down, and I needed to step up myself. And it was a moment when I had to look in the mirror for me and ask myself the question, am I being the best franchisee in my team? Am I putting on team? Am I putting on customers? And they were all no, 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 no. And I knew that it wasn't about trying to get my team to do anything. It wasn't about me trying to inspire them. I had to re-inspire myself, and I had to keep employing myself every day. So that was a defining moment for me. And I went to work. I literally decided and committed. And I will always say that to anyone that's going through that stage right now, that's going, you know what, can I do this? And, having all those doubts and distractions come through your way, I would make that decision and make a commitment. And that's really what I did. And I just started, I just started calling people. And this was a real turnaround. So that was in the December. And I made a phone call to one of my customers. They'd been on as a customer for 8 months. And I literally picked up the phone. She was on my chicken list. And I just said to her, what's your plans for the next year? I know you're a stay-at-home mum. Are you looking for something that you could do part-time now that you've got kids going back to school? That customer was Valerie Gamer. And she'd been a customer of mine for 8 months, and I'd never, ever asked her if she wants to be part of this. And that one phone call that was literally 30 seconds of courage that I just did literally changed my whole entire business. And that's why I would always say never, ever underestimate that power of just picking up the phone and just talking and just asking a question. Because I never in a million years would have ever thought from that one conversation that Val would go on to then do what she's done now. And I'm sure all of you may on the call know Valerie. And well, that, do you know what? It was one person that excited me again in the business that really got that momentum started. And she brought Caitlin in, and then, you know, the months down, and this started to just explode. And it really was one person. And, you know, of course, there's other people in the business, but it can take one or two that can make that difference in your business. You just got to find that gem, that diamond that you just want to work with, and you get excited about being part of it. So that literally was the start of that next journey from QNMD to NMD. And, you know, that really, for me, there was a few things that I had to really work on as a leader. One was, you know what, everyone has the same opportunity. You know, every single person has this same opportunity to do something either mediocre in this or extraordinary. It really is up to that. You can either have a mediocre business or an extraordinary business. We all have that same opportunity. But the choice is yours. You can either play small in your little kind of thing that you want to play in, or you can play on a bigger scale. And, you know, when I started doing some personal development, that really started to open up so much more. And I really can't stress enough how important that mindset and that personal development is for the growth of your business. Because when you start growing your business will start exploding. And, you know, and with successful people, what you find is that they will do things that other people won't do. So they're the ones that get out of the comfort zone. You know, they're the ones that stretch themselves and then get to that point and then stretch even further. And that's what successful people do every single day. They look for ways that you can better yourself. You know, and I did someone say, what do I, sorry, I'm not even looking at the questions if there is any. Okay, favourite personal development. You know what, there's so much. We're so lucky in this business because not only do we have like great, amazing leaders inside Juice Plus that share, like, I mean, if you haven't listened to the NMD, you know, top three, their top three keys to success in the franchisee page, I'll definitely recommend that because I'm listening to it and I'm still getting gold from that. So learning off each other to me is really important because we kind of say the same thing, if you notice, and that really, really helps. So I definitely recommend that. For me, you've got to find who you gel with. I love Tony Robbins. I really enjoy his stuff. For me, when I was in my hardest times, Robin Sharma was a guy that I used to listen to, and that really helped me. He's a really interesting guy on excellence, like mastering your craft. And I remember listening to him a lot when I was going through those down times in my business. I found that when I started to put some rituals into place, that's when my business started to grow even more. So one of the things that I remember him talking about a lot is the people that are successful in life aren't just born successful, right? People that are geniuses aren't normally born as geniuses, but what they do is these are the people that you want to see. What do they do to create that success? And I remember just listening and learning to a lot of that stuff. And he basically says it's the people that do the same thing over and over and over again, that have their daily rituals, that, you know, work on themselves and do that personal development. And those are the people that are consistently doing the same thing that end up being successful in what they do. They're mastering their craft. So I would, you know, say, you know, in your business, have you mastered the craft? Have you mastered that DMO every single day? The consistency that everyone, all of us leaders talk about and hammer on about all the time, you know. So it's mastering that craft that I think is really important. And, you know, this business really challenges you. And I'm going to share, I actually wrote a couple of things down and I thought, shall I share this? There's something I've never ever shared before. And Kimmy's like scared. She's like, oh my gosh, what are you going to share? I was thinking about it because Kim said, you know, would love you to share your challenges and how you actually overcame a lot of them. And I must say, I am one of the NMDs that I've had a lot of challenges thrown my way. I've had a whole SSC line literally walk away from my business. And, you know, there's been lots of challenges. And there's been times when I've really had to reflect on the lessons I've had to learn in this business. Now, one of them, as I said, I've never ever shared this before. So this is the first time anyone's hearing this. One of the big things for me was you know, leading up to NMD, there was a lot of lessons learned. When I got to NMD, it's such an amazing feeling to know that you've achieved that. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing feeling, like the team, seeing the team pull together and have your back and believe in you, and, you know, you creating this incredible, you know, vibe and momentum within your business when you get to NMD. But when I got to NMD, there was a funny thing that happened to me. I kind of felt like I'd arrived. Like I'd got there and I thought, done it, absolutely done it. And I was so excited. But at the same time, there was a part of me that switched off. And there was a part of me that went, I've arrived and I'm really happy that I've done this. And now I can kind of sit back a little bit and, you know, kind of just watch the team, how they go. And I totally went into management mode. And I, you know, a lot of people in this business, we always say as leaders, that's the most scariest place to be, is when you start being in management mode and you're not in that excitement building mode. I went into management mode and, you know, I kind of went back to that point of when I was in SSC, and I started to notice little things that was slipping here and there. And, but I kind of ignored it because I'm an NMD now and it's good. And it was about 4 or 5 months into my business, I actually didn't qualify as an NMD. I didn't qualify my business. Now, that was really, really hard. Now, that was an overseeing on my part. I was helping everyone else and not really looking at what I was doing. Again, getting into that management mode, not building myself, not putting on personal customers, all of those things that got me to not qualify my business as an NMD. And I tell you what, it is not a nice place to be in when you look at your paycheck and realize that you've literally missed out on about $4,500. It was one of the biggest lessons. And now that I'm going on now 3 years ago, so I'm actually okay to share that now. But I tell you what, it's taken a very, very long time to be able to admit that there was a month as an NMD that I didn't qualify. But I tell you what now, it was the greatest blessing, because I tell you what now, that will never, ever, ever happen again in my business. And I'm real and honest with this, because you know, we're always going to get that in our business, whether you're an NMD, whether you're an SDVF, whatever it is that you're at, there's going to be a big lesson at some point. And it will wake you up. Just make sure that when that happens, that you learn that lesson and that you go, you know what, this is my defining time right now, that I need to grow. I need to actually grow from this. So that was huge for me. But I had heaps of coaching calls by Celine and all sorts, going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've done that. And she actually laughed in the end, because she said, Abby, you know, you just overlooked a few things, but at the same time, it was probably a good time for you to learn these lessons. Even as an NMD, you know, we need to be always there. We need to be building. We need to be putting on customers. We need to lead from the front. So that's why I will always, you know, do that and be the person that, you know, I'm not going to blame my team for anything. This is my journey as well. So, yeah. I don't know, Kimmy, how am I going for time? Am I 6:30? I feel like I've talked a lot. Sorry, guys.
No, that was awesome. I loved it. We've still got about 10 minutes before it actually cuts out on us. That was so good.
Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. I'm so grateful you shared that last little bit.
As I said, you've never heard that before, Kimmy, have you?
No, seriously, guys, the importance of qualifying. We can't, this is why we stress it at, like, we don't want your paychecks to drop. And Abby, you're a walking example.
I'm a walking example of how you can lose a lot of money in a month. And that's why you'd never do it again, and exactly what Kim said, to be able to get to SDVF and qualify your business and personally qualify is such an important part of this. I can't stress that enough, and the power of what we have in our hands is really extraordinary. And I wrote that down because when I go back onto the start of my journey, and if you think about me starting in that little room with 2 other people and saying yes to this, I started with one person. I started this journey with one franchisee. And now if I look at, I'm looking at this screen and I have people in my team I don't even know. Like, there is hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, and it all started with one. So the power of that is absolutely extraordinary. I never ever want you to lose vision of the power of what we have, because we get to change and help so many people, and it blows my mind all the time. So always, look at that and think the power of this is so incredible. When you help each other, what can happen and eventuate from it.
I love it. Perfect. Does anyone have any questions? I think everyone's just blown away with how awesome that was. I never even asked Naomi. I sent Naomi a message. Naomi, was there anything you would like to ask Abby? I know, Abby, you covered everything that I asked you to, which is great.
I'm at the brief.
No, that was absolutely amazing, Abby. I don't have any personal questions, I think, because just as an example of what an incredible person Abby is, even though Abby is a few NMDs up from me even, I count her as one of my closest mentors in this business. She makes so much time for everyone. And so basically when I have anything to ask Abby, I just ask her. So it's just like, for those of you guys that don't know where exactly Abby is in relation to our team specifically. So there's, for you guys that are Team Pina Colada, there's myself. And then there's Stacey, who's also on the call. So Stacey's my upline. And then there's Luce Hawkins, and then Kim, and then Caitlin, and then Val, and then Abby. So just to give you an example of, we do refer to it as the popcorn effect in this business. If that one conversation hadn't happened between, Abby and Val, then literally the potential for none of us to be on this call right now is very, very real, because it's all stemmed from that. And so, when Abby talks about the power of one conversation and the power that we have in our hands with this business, you actually just don't know what one conversation can do. It can be the next conversation that you're going to have that could be the life-changing one, and you won't know it at the time. It might take 12 months, it might take 5 years, it might take who knows how long for you to actually realize the magnitude of one conversation. But that's why you just always have to have that, that 30 seconds of courage and just get out there and do it. Have that conversation, because it really could change not only your life, but their life, and so many other lives, touch so many other lives that you don't even know yet. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Thanks so much, Abby, for sharing tonight. Absolutely loved it, as always.
Yeah,
no worries.
I do have, since someone's chucked any questions in, I would love you to finish with 5 minutes of, you've been in the game for 8 years, 7, 8 years?
Nearly 7.
Yeah, nearly 7 years, right? Which is so inspiring, guys, because most of you guys on the call, you're still new, you're under the 12-month mark. So it's honestly just the beginning. So 7 years, you go through the motions, you hit the titles, you grow this business, and you've kind of achieved, like, I've got the top level, I've got the NMD. What's really driving you to keep going now, and what excuses are you kicking to the curb? Like, what excuses do you have coming up that you are absolutely ignoring because you want to make this shit happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question because, 7 years in the business, like a lot of people, when they come to me and say, I've exhausted everyone, like I've, called all my friends and everyone that I know, like I've spoken to everyone, there's no one left. And I'm like, this is like a journey. It's not a fast sprint. We've got to, if we want this longevity in the business, you're going to have to find ways to reinvent yourself, re-inspire yourself, re-motivate yourself all the time. And, and you're going to have dips and flows all the time in the business. It's going to be ups and it's going to be downs. But I always know, for me personally, when I get really excited in this business, it's when I bring new people into the business. Like I'm in that state now where I've just brought a couple of new people on, and it's so exciting. Like it reignites something inside of me. So I always know if you're feeling a bit flat in your business right now, it's because you're not butting up with someone. You're not having that spark where you're going, you're bouncing ideas off each other and you're having that fun. And I know when I'm a bit flat, I'm not having enough fun. So I'm like, that's when we have to, we've just started the Love Lab, which totally lights me up. I'm actually going now to Nat's house where we're just going to put this itinerary together of people that we can bring into our community to add value, to really start to get people excited. And I for me personally, that's how I keep going. The second part of that is to see my team achieve. Like, to me, there's no greater thing in this business than to see your team step up, your team hit promotions. That to me always lights me up. So I always know is that I've got to link arms with people, and I've got to see, when I love watching the whole team, when I'm looking through you guys and your downline team, it's so exciting when I see Tabitha Blake putting on like 15 odd customers a month. I'm like, that excites me. I'm like, you go, girl. I love that. I love watching the report and seeing you guys just shine. And I think that is a reminder, the power of this business, because I know that by Tab doing that, it's changing her life financially. Like, if she's putting on that many customers a month, that she's bringing in a residual income for her family. And when you start looking at people, I've got now pages and wads of names. I go back to that and think, well, if I'm not stepping up and I'm not putting on those team and customers, look at how that affects other people, and that really excites me when I see a qualifier in the business and know that that's $500-600 in their bank account each month. So that's what keeps me going. That's always what, 7 years in, you have to remind yourself that there is so many lives to impact, and you can play a part of that. And when you put your head down at night and you close your eyes and you know that there is a lot of people that's lives changed just because you said yes, and that's not something to impress people with, but when you see it, you think about the impact of that. It actually just takes your breath away sometimes, because we have an amazing power here to be able to keep impacting lives after lives after lives. So to me, that's literally why I will stay in the game forever.
I love it. I love it. Yay. Well, thank you so much. That was awesome.